Thanks for joining me. My name is Rose Peter Graham, and this is Rose on All Sides. I would like to say a big congratulations, starting the show today, as a matter of fact, to say big congratulations to the newly appointed Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the youngest in 200 years. Yes, so that's him, Rishi Sunak, 42-year-old young man. Brilliant, with so much money, so much ideas. He's focused and he seems to be getting things done. This is what the UK actually needs right now after the mumbo jumbo plan of the immediate former prime minister, and the UK keeps going through prime ministers just like that. You're talking about three prime ministers in 1 year, back to back. That is huge. And I would be discussing the UK's Prime Minister in relation to the economy and all the happenings in the UK, the people's reaction to this new Prime Minister, with my colleague in broadcasting, Priscilla Wikbo. How are you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Rose. Pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Congratulations.
Oh.
Welcome back.
Priscilla, that one we would have been doing in some fancy restaurants.
Don't worry. We'll do the fancy restaurant congratulations.
Okay, so now let us do this. Let's talk about this new kid on the block.
Is he the new kid on the block, really?
He is, isn't he?
Well, I mean, let me say congratulations to, Rishi Sunak on his appointment as the latest PM. Latest,
because why did you use that word?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to note that we've been going through the conveyor belt of prime ministers for quite some time now. And he's only the latest, as you said earlier, the latest one in a year.
Yes.
And he's the third one on the belt for 2022. But he's very much been a part of the government, and so that is why I can't refer to him as the new kid on the block, because he's not really new in that sense.
Sitting right there on top of the block, I meant. Okay, of course, he's met with the king. That's still news, and is now the king. That was a really beautiful picture. The setting, everything has actually changed. And there's something. I'm not talking about King Charles now, but I see with how he is coming is actually really different from his
predecessor.
Yes, his mom. Yeah, because the background of that picture, that is not usually what the mom has.
Well, it's not. He obviously will redecorate. When they come in, everybody wants to put their own stamp on things, and so he would want to. He's had the place spruced up, or maybe he's using a different room, because we're aware that's I think Buckingham Palace has something like 700 odd rooms, we're told, and so he has many rooms to choose from. So perhaps he's using one that we're just not familiar with.
Yeah, I just particularly like it. It's a beautiful picture. The suit he was putting on, and the suit the young man is also putting.
I think in this particular photo, perhaps it's fair to say that the king should be a little bit more relaxed. I think in times
You think he isn't?
Well, when we saw him with, Miss Truss, the former Prime Minister, it wasn't so relaxing, was it? There was just so much going on. His mother had just passed. We had that whole 3 weeks of funeral, and then we had all the... and Liz had just come into office, and, it was a lot. There was a lot going on. So I can understand why the photograph probably didn't seem calming. And this one does. But
oh yeah, this one does. That's what I'm saying. I thought you meant this one doesn't.
No,
because I'm looking at it again. I'm like,
well, I don't know. Congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, of course. Of course, the both of them just newly came in, and they're both their predecessors are Liz, like Elizabeth.
Indeed.
Can you beat it? Or is the UK having scarcity for names? I don't understand. A certain period where every child was
very
named.
popular at the moment.
The name Elizabeth. But that's really good. Okay,
Yeah.
now, so what do you think this prime minister is coming on board with?
Well, I don't know. I find him. I mean, already he's put his foot wrong in so many ways.
Okay.
One of them is to say that Suella Braverman can continue as the Home Office, Home Secretary.
Yeah.
And I think that that just goes against. If you remember his very first speech that he gave us when the appointment was announced. He told us he was coming to serve with integrity. He was going to be responsible
And serving with action.
All of that.
Yeah.
And then you now appoint a person that had just been sacked for dishonesty and for breach, a huge breach, security breach. So then, what happened to you, integrity? And don't forget that when he resigned, when he was former chancellor, under his predecessor Boris Johnson, he resigned because he said he could no longer tolerate the environment of working with Mr. Johnson, and he spoke about the fact that he needed to be working in an honest environment, suggesting that Mr.
Johnson wasn't entirely honest.
Well, I think we all know that he has a few problems with the truth there. But he came on, he told us all of that. But
yes.
Then this is the same man who was also fined for breach during the COVID.
Because he was part of the party, wasn't he?
Because he also attended a party, so he was also in breach there. So it questions a lot about his integrity, or the notion of integrity that he speaks.
Yeah, and I actually don't have this clip, and I'm really upset by it. It's because it's been a lot of mumbo jumbo. When he has been announced to be the prime minister, and then he went. He was meant to meet with his colleagues.
Right.
They were at the House of Parliament, and they were all outside to welcome him.
Yes.
I don't know where that was.
Wasn't it outside number 10?
No, it was outside number 10, I guess. And they were all by the staircase, welcoming him with applause.
Right. Inside.
And then when he was coming, no, he wasn't inside, outside at the doorstep.
Okay.
You noticed this one of his colleagues, the one that was, is it Matt Hancock, the one that was involved?
Matt Hancock. Oh, when he didn't shake his hand.
Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Oh, my goodness. Why would he do that?
Well, perhaps they have issues.
No, I'm sure it's because of the self-righteous thing.
What self-righteous thing?
Like, he sees himself like a moralist. Like, I wouldn't have anything to
No, I don't think so. I think they're colleagues, and obviously...
Why would he shun him publicly? Because you saw the look on his face.
He chose to do that for whatever reason that there are. We don't know these things, but it didn't look very good.
It was just recent. Because that he had the scandal. So you can't tell me.
I don't think it has anything to do with the scandal.
Why he shunned him publicly?
Listen, they work together. They belong in the same party. Perhaps he didn't have his support. Perhaps, they don't get along.
The guy was clapping away. The guy was excited
he's going to clap
for
because
him.
the party members were there. I mean, we've had Jacob Rees-Mogg. He congratulated him. He was very hearty about welcoming Rishi into office and so on, but he resigned immediately. And which will make you to question.
I do understand that, but this was quite an obvious shunning in public.
Yes, it was but we don't know why.
The guy was able to manage his facial expression.
He didn't manage it very well because.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because his face instantly dropped, and we all saw it on camera. It was awful.
It would have been worse.
Well, I don't know, but it was awful, and we all saw it.
And I was wondering but I didn't get to follow the news about if it was on BBC, if they talked about it. But the moment I saw it on CNN, but some way, somehow, CNN refused to repeat it.
Well, I don't
that
because
particular part.
It's not really an issue in that sense to be discussed. You know, people work together and they don't always get along.
So no, you don't shun them in public like that. You don't just
well on this occasion they do. I mean, we've seen Prince Charles, you know, refusing to shake the hand of the black man in public. We've seen many our colleagues, especially political colleagues, who ignore.
I must say that is strange. That is news to me. That is news to me.
It's not strange. We're human beings. It's what we do. It's what people do.
Okay. You know, there's something about, there's a video that has gone viral. After his appointment, the new prime minister was putting candles in front of his office. What's that supposed to mean? I guess let us see that video.
Oh, this...
Yeah.
But I'm told that this was, obviously it was Diwali, wasn't it? It was the Diwali, the Hindu festival of
But this
light,
wasn't
I think it was.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But I think it was in honor of that, in recognition of that. But I am told that this was a 2020 video. It wasn't recent.
It wasn't recent.
Yeah, he didn't do it on
2020,
the day.
2020.
But I don't. But then this would be number 11 Downing Street and not number 10.
Not number 10.
So, but I don't understand why they felt the need to run this video now. Obviously, somebody wants us to talk about it. Somebody wants us to think something. And that's obviously why they put it out.
But he seems to be quite a religious person, because I do have another video where he went visiting the rest, the cow.
You know, Hindus, they have a lot of association with
that mammal
cows. I think they have different gods, and different gods are represented in different ways. Well, I mean, it's his religion, isn't it?
He's quite religious, isn't he?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Very religious.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's allowed to practice their religion.
True.
As they so wish. And I guess he, like everybody else, is practicing his own.
Okay, and since he was... Okay, I think that's the other one. That video is not looking well. The other one where he was... I don't know what I would call that. Praying to the cow?
Oh, well, I don't know. You know, I don't... I can't really comment on it, but, you know, he's entitled to worship, to be at his place of worship, to worship as he deems fit for his religion.
Definitely.
So, you know, I wish them all the best in that.
That is true. That's very true, and I believe he's going to do well for the UK, because the pounds is already picking up, and the naira is looking dead already, like it's dropping like crazy. But you see, the fact is this: the naira has actually always been dropping, and the pounds was losing its value against the dollar, and it looked as if the naira was doing well. But now we actually know that the naira was just there, or is getting worse. And then there's the latest news that there are going to be new notes in Nigeria. And
well,
why
that's
is
bound
that?
to have an impact. I don't know. I think you know, if we look at what's happening globally, there's been all this talk of central bank digital currencies, and I suspect that this whole business of changing the naira notes, I think the only thing of concern there is the timing. It's quite short notice for everybody, because I think everyone's required to submit whatever nairas they have within, like, they've got like a 6 weeks.
Yeah, but yes, 6 weeks,
which is really quite short.
8 weeks.
Whatever it is very short. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I know that, for instance, I keep naira.
I don't have naira. Do I have naira?
You know, there are people who keep naira because when they travel, once you get to the airport, you want to have some naira on you. So people keep naira for that reason.
But isn't it?
So there are a lot of people in the UK that have naira, for instance, that don't necessarily have bank accounts.
You mean naira here in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh.
There are a lot of people that have nairas here in the UK, because if you travel frequently, you will always have some naira on you when you're coming back, because if you're for your next journey, you don't want to get in and not, you don't have any naira, because it can be quite frustrating at the airport if you're trying to get a trolley, if you're trying to get a driver, all of those things. So you tend to have a stash of something, some sort.
That's true.
So that float now that people have, and they may not be back in time to pay it into their various bank accounts. What happens to those people?
Okay.
Yeah, such a short timing for it.
Okay, let me take you on this. There's a problem brewing in Abuja. Um, I was meant to have an interview today
Right.
with the Minister of State for the FCT.
Mm.
Sadly, that interview couldn't hold
Right.
because the Minister for State, I think her name is Dr. Ramatu Tijani Aliu, so the Honorable Minister of State, FCT. So I was meant to have a meeting with her, I mean, an interview with her at the start of this program, but everything was planned. We sent the link and everything else, but she couldn't come on because she was summoned by the president and she had to go there because there's been several um, meetings, security meetings, because of the US and the UK's message that there's a security breach in Nigeria, or we're likely to have an attack or a terrorist attack, and then they're withdrawing some of, I mean, or maybe the entire staff from Nigeria. Do you think we should take this seriously, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, naturally, if there is a security breach, insecurity is something that Nigeria has been struggling with for quite some time. But this particular one, it's particularly worrisome in the sense that you've got the United States announcing, and no sooner had they announced, they're now evacuating their
staffs,
their citizens, and so it doesn't bode well. I mean, when you consider in times past when we've seen this happen in other countries, it tends to be a follow up of some kind of. I don't think the term war is, because it's quite worrisome, but there tends to be some form of an attack that comes, and that attack tends to be one that the USA themselves are propagating, as opposed to whether it's the country involved or it's the said terrorist, as it were. So it's one of concern, but really the question Nigerians ought to be asking to their various ministers and their various respective senators from the different states and whatnot is what is going on. I don't think Nigeria needs a war at this time, and it shouldn't be some kind of, because we've seen this in Afghanistan, we've seen it happen in other parts of the world where these powers have, announced suddenly there is a problem in a country.
When they announced, where was the Nigerian security personnel, or maybe those in charge of security? How come they announced and only the US and the UK heard about it? Or why they give us? Why are they getting first-hand information even before the Nigerian security operatives? I don't understand.
I am neither a Nigerian president or the minister, so I couldn't answer that. But I suspect that there are some kind of diplomatic legalities that permits for them to share information and to have. But I think that the other thing, like I said, what is Nigeria saying about this? Is Nigeria in agreement that indeed there is a security breach? And if there is, what are they doing to protect the citizens of Nigeria? What are they proactive about the situation? These questions need to be answered, because naturally it's a worry for the residents of Abuja. The last time we heard that there was a security breach, I think that was when there was some kind of bomb that went off and hit the UN building and also affected I think it was Arise TV or so. And there were people who died in those attacks.
Oh, no, that's sad.
And so that if we're hearing this now, of course it's a worry, because as I've said, it's happened before. It's not the first time.
And during Jonathan's time, he actually sought the help of the United States. I'm not sure, did he get it when Boko Haram was really,
I think it was quite clear. Was it not
them.
reported at the time that the US were not particularly? They didn't want to help. They.
So, but are they sharing intelligence with Nigerian securities?
Countries share intelligence, yeah, they do. Because obviously, in every country, there is that you have, for instance, the consulate for.
So we should say hence the announcement, because Americans have made us believe that when there are issues like this, they can easily just quench it.
Americans want us, or should I say, the American government wants us to believe that they care for their citizens, and so they are always very quick to evacuate their citizens from where they see to be troubled spots or war-torn areas. But often they're usually responsible for the upheaval that causes.
Could that be
or that
the
is
only
reason
thing that
for-
concerns them as it stands now? Would that be the only thing that concerns them? Like making the announcement, evacuating citizens, and that's all? Is that it?
Is that I don't understand if that's anything that concerns them. What do you mean?
No, it's like, they've made the announcements.
Yeah, and
They've made sure
their.
their citizens are protected.
That's right.
Is that where it stops for them?
I think you'll have to ask them.
No, because I'm wondering, because if they have been having this fine relationship with Nigeria for a long time,
Have they had a fine relationship with Nigeria, or is it what kind? I think that I think to an extent we'll be fooling ourselves if we think that America has had a fine relationship with Nigeria. They don't come across as having done that. I think that it's fair to say that during the Obama era, they seem to have stoked more of our issues than to, provide solution. And I think, it was also reported, one of the current spokesmen of Garba Shehu, I believe his name is, I think he also made mention that the Trump administration were kinder to Nigeria than the Obama administration. So, it's in the public domain.
That's relatively right, though.
No, I don't know about
Is
relative, but I'm just saying what he said, which is in the public domain.
Yeah,
so,
because
that
Obama
suggests
shunned
that they were
Nigeria
not-
several
that would
times.
suggest that
It would
they've not been
visit
very
countries around Nigeria and it would shun Nigeria.
Oh, well.
That was done several times. Okay, that's fine. I wanted to touch on, there was something that's actually skipping my mind, but before that, there was just a news that caught my fancy. Femi Fani-Kayode, that used to be with the PDP, now is saying that the PDP will give Nigerians hell if the party wins in 2023 elections. That's really, really funny for me.
Should we even be discussing Femi Fani-Kayode?
You think he's not part of the major players for this 2023 elections?
For what?
Has he been relegated?
The guy is working for his money.
He says he's the director of media for Tinubu Presidential Campaign Council. I wonder how those people always feel they need this guy. Is it because of...
Well, he's a great talker, isn't he?
Yeah, because he talks well, doesn't he?
He's a great talker. I mean, I don't know. I think what he seems to give off is a man that sounds like he's been held in a stranglehold. Because I can't understand, the changes that he makes from political party to political party.
I don't understand how he does it. Honestly,
he says, I think he once told us that the APC was full of demons, and you've gone back to the demons.
I think Femi Fani-Kayode should get the award for the most cross-carpeted politician in Nigeria.
I think we should just wish him well.
And he does this so smoothly. That guy should write a book about political prostitution, because I think he heads it completely.
Well, we wish him well.
He heads it. And now, I'm going to take you last before I let you go now.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you. Atiku and Tinubu, they've been throwing slings at each other. And then there is Dele Momodu also saying, I love Tinubu, I love Tinubu, but I don't support him. I don't understand why these people are disturbing the airwaves with their personal matters instead of them talking to us about how best they would change Nigeria and dealing with the flood issues and the likes.
I think one of the things that we also have to remember in the media is that we're responsible for some of these things.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because you know where he says you know that where he says, for instance, that he's not supporting Tinubu. Well, it makes sense. He's in a different political party. So how he would do that.
Would you say he's seeking relevance by saying that? Because everyone knows that Dele Momodu and Tinubu, through the years, I mean, they've known each other for well over, should I say 25, 30 years?
Well, I mean, he's in a different political party, so it'd be very hard for him to be able to support when he's in opposition. So I can understand him there. It's really not.
Then why is he calling? He actually called him out based on the manifesto, that Tinubu copied the manifesto of the late MKO. So that is why he's speaking. I think he just say it there and let it rest. But going on and on, I don't know. I don't know why, because it's been on, like on every media house is talking about it, because you cannot imagine one a prominent figure from the western part of Nigeria be talking down to like someone who is like the generalissimo of politics in Nigeria, who is also from the West. And of course, I use that word generalissimo because Dele Momodu was the first person who called Tinubu that. So why would he now be confronting him and going head on in the media than trying to pull him down?
I couldn't answer the why, but I think that it's good that if he's calling him out, because you're not coming here to run on someone else's manifesto. You must be coming to run Nigeria according to how you have, you should have looked at it, you should have prepared your manifesto. You've been in governance for a long time. It's not right to just pick up someone else's manifesto and run with it. That will suggest that you're not serious. That will suggest that you're not really going to carry out what you say you're going to carry out. That will suggest that it's not coming from you. We need people now. We're in this place right now. The country is in this state right now where, whether we like it or yes, it looks as though change has arrived, and Nigerians are no longer tolerant of so many things that they were before, and most especially the young people. And they are seeing through a lot of things. So as you can see with the struggles that the two, the PDP and APC, the two bigger parties are having at the minute to communicate their message, to campaign, to reach to the younger people, there is a huge struggle there. Okay. And that's because people do not feel that they can identify with what they're going through.
You mentioned something like hope is around the corner. What do you mean?
I said change.
Change, yeah, is around the corner for Nigerians.
Well, yeah, I think, in as much as we can say, oh, we saw something like this in 2015, but it's not the same. The feel of it is not the same. The soul of it is not the same. What we're seeing now, yes, in 2014, 2015, there was a lot of noise. And there was a lot of noise, Buhari must be. And there was all the shouts on the integrity and so on and so forth. But I think the difference between there and now is that we're seeing now, even when people are no longer using the words, just like that. The words are not empty anymore.
The word change.
The words are not empty. Now there is so much seriousness, and it's a matter, when you see the young people saying, no Sishi, and they're putting their monies together, they are contributing, they are using whatever means that they have to project a candidate, to campaign for a candidate. They're going to state, market to market, speaking to market women, educating them, trying to make sure that they all have their PVC. We're ready to take INEC to court when the time came to say, hey, we need more time to register. This is insufficient. I think it's different. We can't pretend about what's going on. We can, try to pretend it's push it away and call it all sorts.
But what
of
do you
names.
think would make? I'm sorry, but I did that on purpose, cutting you short.
No, it's fine.
Just popping it like that. But do you think would make a better precedent at the end? Like, the three big wigs, they tried to put Kankasu in the middle somewhere, but Tinubu, Atiku, and Peter Obi.
I think the Kwankwaso camp lost it for me when they were speaking about the fact that if Peter Obi would just not run now, give Kwankwaso the opportunity because of his age, and then come back later. It was just like, come on, this is not about age. This is about Nigeria.
Yeah.
But I think that with what we're seeing now, unfortunately,
yes.
Tinubu, I've always considered him a great strategist. I think he will be a great kingmaker. I don't think he's the king. Atiku, our serial, candidate, what can I say? I wish him the best. I mean, after all, he made it as VP once upon a time.
Yes.
Perhaps that's as far as he's going to come, being number 2. I think right now, Peter Obi is definitely, you see, the difference for him is that he represents what people are looking for.
Okay.
He represents that desire for he's refreshing to listen to. You may not like the sound of the tone of his voice, but he's refreshing with what he's saying. And it's not just the fact that he's saying it, it's the fact that he actually lives it. He has been it. So if we go back to his time as governor of Anambra State, when he says he wants to reduce governance, for instance, the expense of governance, we've seen that with him in Anambra State.
Okay.
When he says he wants to invest in and so on, create investment, we've seen that with him in Anambra State. You can try to, again, rubbish him and dismiss him and say whatever you like, but for him, he is giving the young people what they have so desperately wanted, what they so desperately need and they don't have, and that is hope. And that is integrity, the real example of integrity this time around. Here's a man, he's equally as rich as the other two.
Yes.
But for him, isn't it wonderful not to have to pull out your money to campaign to be president as such?
And you have people doing that for you.
You've got the country and those in the diaspora willing.
And then they've been nicknamed the obedience.
And they call themselves obedience and useful. I think it's wonderful.
It is. Then there's a change to it.
Well,
there's a twist, definitely.
I'm loving the way people are reasoning now.
Okay.
I'm loving the fact that people are no longer in that stupor of accepting mediocre. I'm loving the fact that they don't want the talk anymore. They want to see it for real.
That is good.
They want the show working. They don't want talking. Don't come and promise us and regale us with fancy words what you want to do. You come into office and the whole place is flooded and you don't say boo. No. They want people that care. They want somebody that's going to get up and say, look, we have an issue, declare a state of emergency, and show concern. Show concern, empathy. But not that, I love Nigeria so much and I'm ready to cry tears, but not showing concern when it's needed. It's problematic.
Yeah, that's good. And I really do hope, if we're talking about the status quo or quote and unquote, those who actually select or determine who becomes the next president, would the system allow?
Will the system allow what?
Allow a free and fair election come the 20.
Well, it's always been a challenge. I think it's definitely it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be a battle. Okay. But it's going to be a battle till the end.
And I must let our viewers know this. From next week, we're going to be looking at this individuals directly. This candidates for the three major political parties. we're going to be talking more and more about them and giving our viewers a new insights. I know it's obvious what Nigerians want, but let's bring it out more. Let them get to make decisions and the likes. And Peter Obi has been traveling, one of the candidates, has been traveling all around the world, meeting with Nigerians in the diaspora. The two of them, the two other big, shots in, they've been in Nigeria. They don't see a need of meeting those outside, given the massive contribution the Nigerians in the diaspora make. But they are also saying those in the diaspora will not have any impact because some of them don't have the PVC. Are they going to vote? Are they going to come down to vote? That Peter Obi seems to be wasting his time.
Well, I've always said this when we say people in the diaspora don't have an impact. People in diaspora they don't all have PVCs, but there are some who do. And there are some who are ready to fly in and to cast their votes. So we shouldn't write them off. I think the other aspect of the people in the diaspora is that they can influence, they can influence their family members as to who they should vote for. They can, they would pay for transport, for instance. They'll be able to educate family members as to what is best and where they think they should go and cast their votes. So to just write them off and say that they're not going to have an impact, I think, I don't think it's so wise to do.
Okay.
Because it's not just the fact that I was physically present, but I may have had an impact. I may have, I remember once having a conversation with a family member many years ago when the then governor of Rivers State, Amici, was the governor of River State.
Yes.
And I remember having this conversation with a family member, and she said to me, this one, Amici came in after we had Odili. Yes. And Odili was known as Mr. Not freehand, what's the other word? There's a word anyway that they gave to him because
he was always giving.
Money.
Yeah.
That's right. So with Amici now as Mr. President, as Mr. Governor, he wasn't handing out money in that sense. And my family member was like, this one is not, it doesn't really give money, it's just very Armstrong. So I now said to her, I said, look at it this way. He's building roads.
Yes.
If he can build the roads to make it safer, you will pay less and it'll be easier for you to get to work. Mm-hmm. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing the other. And I pointed them all out and she said, I hadn't looked at it that way. I said, that's a lot better for you than the money that he's handing out. So that's what you should be pushing him
That is
to
true.
do. So that's the kind of thing, sometimes it's not their fault. It's just, their environment is such that they overlook these things that are so important, which they really should be focusing on. So
that's true, and most especially those are the aims of affairs in Nigeria. Most of them are about giving you little fishes instead of actually giving you the nets or teaching you how to go fishing. If we build our system based on that, I do not think we'll be having over 70% of our youths being jobless, and we're having the horrible situation that we have back home there in Nigeria. So we've touched on UK news about the new Prime Minister. I've actually got some videos, but I don't want to put them out yet because you never know who might be watching. But I have it on my wall on Facebook. You can scroll down. That's with the Prime Minister. I mean, when he was quite young, but there hasn't been much difference. That guy's got some really nice gene. So when he was a youth, when he was at the Bishop Beach party, I mean, he was really looking good.
He's starting to have grey hair, isn't he? And he hasn't even started the job yet.
Yeah, I actually noticed that.
Grey hair is already coming.
But you think he's going to do a good job?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
That's a shock.
Why is it a shock?
So you do not think Rishi Sunak?
Well, I don't understand it. The man set us up to be where we're at now. Whilst he was former chancellor in the Johnson administration, he prescribed us that we were to pay more NI, we were to pay more for our energy, we're to pay more for we're paying more for everything.
Why did the Tory party
wait for me to land.
Yes.
So we were to pay more for everything, and wages has not risen much in 10 years. So if we're to, all of us has to pay more for everything, and this was what he told us, before, and all of this was supposed to kick in from the 1st of October, before Liz's appearance, Liz Truss's appearance. If that was what he had prescribed for us as Chancellor, where were we going? The economy wasn't going to get any better. It was simply going to burst. So then he's come along, because at that point, if then we were paying more for NI, so we have less money in our wage packets to be able to then buy food, and we're paying more for our energy, we're paying more for our fuel that we use, we're paying more taxes, we're paying more. Where is that money that will sustain the small businesses? Where is that money to pay for the coffee that you would buy on your way to work? Where is the money for you to, even think of saying, okay, let me buy this top because it's nice, or the earrings, or for argument's sake, go to do your nails? Where would that money have come from? So now he's suddenly come in as PM, and everybody's clapping for him. Liz wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, she wasn't allowed, permitted to sit in office as Prime Minister and to carry out what she wanted. From the get-go, they were hounding her.
Why? You think it's because she's a woman?
Well, our misogyny is always very high when it's a woman. The attack is always literally. That was why Margaret Thatcher said the lady's not for the turning. And that was what pushed Theresa May into calling a general election, because she just had her back up the wall. And Liz, on the other hand, was pushed to the point of saying, fair enough, okay, hands up, I resigned, I made a mistake, okay, take it, I don't want it anymore. I can't see what Rishi is going to do. He's still in the honeymoon period, that's all right. We'll just give him a few weeks and see. First of all, he's got to address our racism, because that's, okay, again, that's a reality. His being in office isn't necessarily going to stem that. It doesn't mean that racism no longer exists. That is not the way to address racism, if that's what the Conservative Party thinks they're doing.
a priority, a minority.
The structures are still there in place, so there is that. So he will be forced to have to address, to deal with racism. Is going to fight at him. But his policies need to be policies. He continues to say that he wants to make it a better country for, but when you really look at his policies as the former Chancellor under the Johnson administration, it was quite dire for people at the bottom of the food chain. And he's been part of the same government that has created this mess. I really can't see how he's suddenly going to wave the magic wand and make it better.
If you say this, what I'm saying is, why then did the party opt for him? They could have gone back to, I don't know, Johnson, or maybe somebody else, like Jeremy Hunt.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Jeremy Hunt is better, and I don't think you can. To be fair, Boris Johnson really shouldn't come back. You can't have somebody sacked out of office for breaking so many rules and grounds, and he's always done that. He was forced out of office for that, and then you bring him back. In as much as so many people would have preferred him over whatever the options were.
Yes.
That's one
I don't know.
thing.
So what's my option? Because I would have preferred him to come back too.
Oh, I would have preferred him too. But I thank God. I was glad that he actually said no, and he didn't have the support that he needed to go forward. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, there was that support thing. I was surprised. Why did it be there? Did it get up to 59?
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it? How do you all resign? How do you have, like, I think it was up to about 60 odd ministers that resigned during his administration, thereabouts, and then you're all going to vote for him to come back again.
There was just no way he could have come back.
It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't bode well for the party. It doesn't bode well for them as individuals.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So at this note, I'll say thank you very much for joining me today, Priscilla. I want to touch on the flood and quite a number of things, but we're going to do that next week.
We'll find time.
Yes, definitely.
It's been a pleasure.
That's it. Thank you. And I've been speaking with Priscilla Wigbo, a broadcaster and a political analyst, social commentator, all the nice things. A brilliant woman.
So kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And when I call you, I hope you're going to come on again.
Well, I'm here now, aren't I?
I like that. And I'm putting you on the spot.
It's
Okay, so
cool.
that's it on Rose on Offsides. And if you stay with us, follow the next link. We are going to be speaking with someone who is putting out our neck and trying to raise money for the flood victims in Nigeria.